evening and welcome to SPORLITIKS, where sports and politics mix and mingle. I'm Stacey Johnson. Joining me tonight is Aguna. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not Aguna. The Nigerian moderate Republican, Keith, the constitutional conservative, Stephen, the independent thinker, and my cousin Todd. We've got a packed show for you this evening. Indicted again, former President Donald Trump, this time in Georgia. College football, Pac-12, and the ACC. What is going on? Let's talk about it. President Biden's infrastructure bill, he's toting it all around the country, and the Maui fire tragedy. How sad, how atrocious, how tragic. James Harden and the Sixers, where did they go from here? Tasers, taunts, torments. How 6 white police officers subjected 2 black men to hours of grueling violence and then tried to cover it up, according to CNN.com. That happened in Mississippi. Quarterback Richardson struggles as the Bills safety Hamlin shines in his debut and return with the Buffalo Bills after that frightening cardiac arrest during the playoffs last year. Do you know what's going on right now in Jackson, Wyoming? You can't hear me?
Yeah, but your voice is going in and out. So pause us and then you'll be clear.
What do you want me to do?
That's good now. It's perfect.
Okay, I'm talking. I don't know. I guess we're having technical difficulties, everybody. That's live for you. Do you know what's going on in Jackson Hole, Wyoming right now? League Cup Finals and Messi. How is he working out exactly for Miami? Is Hunter Biden's case a problem for President Biden and Nigeria's coup in West Africa? What it means for the continent and more, if we can fit it in. First up, Aguna, who do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about Messi in soccer? Do you want to talk about James Harden? Do you want to talk about the ACC and the Pac-12? I talked about that Pac-12 last week. I told you something was going on in college football. Which one do you want to start with?
Let me say this before he gets started. Your voice is so perfectly in right now, but during the announcements, you were completely out and that kind of a thing. I don't know what that was about. Then you were in for a second and went back out. But now it's perfect. I don't know what that was about.
Okay, but I don't know either. So you wanted to take 5 minutes to make an announcement about the technical difficulties the show is having?
No, it's okay. I can't. I was just saying I
didn't do anything. Okay,
you
told me. You already told me that. I didn't do anything.
Okay, I thought you did something because it's perfect now. Okay.
Of course, you always think I do something, and I didn't do anything. I did nothing. What do you want to talk about, Aguna?
Keith may have done.
I'll talk about the Eagles. No, first I'll talk about James Harden. Yeah, and I haven't followed it today to see if anything has changed, but it doesn't look good.
But tell us what has happened.
So Harden made some comments. What's his name? Against the general manager or whatever, said that he would never play in that organization, in an organization with him. He called him a liar. And, he re-emphasized that. So when you say stuff like that, because ultimately Harden ended up he accepted his option in order to negotiate a trade. But at $36 million, there wasn't really a big market out there to take on that type of trade. So I think he's frustrated by that. And so that boils over into the relationship. And now it's pretty much something's going to have to give.
So wait a minute. That's all. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. That's almost like, I don't know, Todd saying that Keith isn't worth it to be on the show. And I don't care how much money you pay for him. The love affair is over and he's no longer interested. Is that basically?
Pretty much. There's no, I mean,
Davis.
there's no mending that, and especially when you come out and speak publicly like that.
But wait, Laguna, I was making a joke there, but $36 million, you said there aren't many takers for $36 million
for Harden.
How much of that?
Yes, there's a 33-year-old Harden.
Right, for 30, it's an old man for $36 million, and he's not averaging 40 points a night in a game. Right. He's not even averaging 20 points a night in a game. So my question would be, how much of that 36 million does Harden actually take home?
I'm not sure. I mean, minus agent, taxes, and all that stuff. I don't know, but he's owed $36 million this year. So, I mean, that's a lot of money. It's not a lot of chump change. You add $4 more million to it, that's how much Trump's legal fees are. So that's a lot of money. So we'll see. I'll see what happens. This reminds me and reminiscent of T.O., where you have a good player and he's just not on board with what the team wants to do. So we'll see what happens. I'll jump to Messi. And I didn't watch the end of the Union game. I think Miami won because they jumped up 2-0 on Philadelphia, and Messi scored his 9th goal. Right now, Miami's still like at the bottom of the MLS East, but they're, again, the bottom of the MLS East, you're basically 4 or 5 games out, right? So, and it runs through the end of November, middle of November. I think the season runs. So there's still a lot of time left. He's good, man. He's good. It's interesting that I believe he's playing on turf. I got to confirm this, but in FIFA, you can't play on turf. You got to play on natural grass. So I think this may be the first time in his life he's played on actual turf, if he plays on it, and they're not forcing teams to roll out grass. Because I think that's what's going to happen during the World Cup. Dallas and Philadelphia are going to have to put natural grass on the field because due to FIFA rules, you can't play on turf. So, but Messi, again, has brought a lot of emphasis in. I think his highlights, of course, you look at attendance and all this. So, yeah, it's a pretty big deal. And what was the last one? The last one was the Pac-10. What about the Pac-10? I don't follow Pac-10. I know Dion's in the Pac-10, and, it's like, woo-woo, but I'm an SEC guy, and SEC football is looking pretty good right now. So, I'm looking forward to college. But Pac-10, well, I will say this. I will be interested to see how Dion does this year. It looks like there are some, I don't know if a playoff team's going to come out the Pac-10. Maybe I don't think USC in the Pac-10. I think so. I see. I don't even SEC, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm looking forward to college football in general, even though I don't necessarily agree with a lot of the rankings. But we'll go from there. Am I done? Station, you're on mute. Can I talk? Can I talk the NFL?
Thank you. Go ahead and talk about the NFL as I pull up the Pac-12. You keep saying Pac-10. Pac-12.
Pac-12.
Well, he doesn't know a lot
sounding
about
like Cousin
football.
Todd now. I'm sounding like Cousin Todd. But I'll put on my hood like Todd. Here you go. Todd and hood.
Look at these copycatters.
Yeah. So, and Serena is going to play. No, okay. Let's talk football. Of course, I'm going to talk about my Philadelphia Eagles first. I'm looking forward to attending my first preseason game of the year tomorrow. They play Cleveland Browns. It looks like there's a lot of action happening in camp. The big news is Jalen Carter, the rookie out of Georgia.
I'll be right back. I got to
quiet, Todd. I'm talking. I'm talking, Todd.
I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. All right. Bye, Todd. So the Jalen Carter, the rookie out of Georgia, is looking really good. He's looking pretty, ready for the season. It's good to see what's going to happen with him. Jalen Hurts is looking good. First team offenses are going against each other in camp. And Watson is actually from the Browns, got picked off like 3 different times. So defense is looking like it's coming together. First preseason game was also pretty good. Even though they lost again. I think they lost because Sirianni was playing around. He was going for it on 4th down and field goal. He's doing little things like that. So it's still preseason, not a big deal. But, Swift looked good. We still got Rashad Penny and Gainwell. So it's going to be interesting to see how the season kicks off when we play against the Pats. I'm going to go up tomorrow to the preseason game. I'm going to check them out personally to see. Of course, Jalen Hurts is not going to play, and a lot of the starters aren't going to play, but it'll be good just to kind of see them back at the link and getting it in. So looking forward to that. Now, in other news, Dak Prescott is still throwing interceptions in practice and stuff. The Cowboys lost their first preseason game. Again, it's just preseason. But I've talked to a lot of Cowboy fans, and they're very more delusional than normal. They're always delusional.
I thought they were disillusioned.
They think that they're going to win the Super Bowl this year, more so than any other. They feel that they got a better team.
Like they won the Super Bowl last year, right?
Right. And I think
they won last year.
Last year, I kind of thought they actually had a chance because you didn't know what you were getting with Jalen Hurts. And the division was probably one of the weakest divisions in the league going into last season. Now, coming out of last season, you saw where 3 of the 4 teams made the playoffs. And now you're coming off of, between the Cowboys and the Eagles, you only lost like maybe 8 games between the 2 teams. So a lot harder schedule. I don't think they have a good offensive line. I think their running game is unproven with Pollard coming off injury. They got a great kid out of Kansas City State, by the way, but I don't think that's a workhorse type running backfield. Question marks are going to come in the secondary with Diggs and Gilmore, so you think they have a little better secondary. But the pass rush, other than Marcus Parsons, I don't know who else scares you there. Now, they got the rookie Menzie in there, and he had a decent game against Jacksonville in the preseason. But, again, I don't think Cowboys, they always have these high expectations, and then when they miss the playoffs, they're like, okay, next year is going to be our year. But then, anything less than the NFC Championship for them this year is probably a failure. And that's been that way for a while. So I think they're going to be highly disappointed. I just don't see them, being able to maintain. Also, San Francisco is also going to be the other team. I think between the NFC, it may be San Francisco, Eagles, and potentially the Cowboys. But San Francisco, again, at quarterback, Brock Purdy hasn't thrown a pass in the preseason. It looks like Sam Donald's going to win the backup starter / job. And then, of course, Trey Lance is still looking like he can't grasp the offense there. So it's going to be interesting. They're going to have a good defense, but their offense is also going to be pretty decent as well with McCaffrey, Debo, and Ayuk. And of course, Kettle.
Yeah, and that's the same. Those were the same suspects as last year. Purdy, after a while, especially during that playoff game, he just, after the defense got at him, he seemed to, I don't know, he seemed to shut down, almost like a computer program. You know what I mean?
I think there's a
playing, and then the computer program just shut down to the point that, then they got that other quarterback in, remember? And then the other quarterback got hurt, and then they brought in the third guy, and then he, what I mean? What happened to him? He was just like, offensive lineman or
Brock Purdy back in, but Brock Purdy couldn't do anything. Unfortunately, Brock Purdy, this is the double standard, right? And I think, and I'm going to talk about it.
Brock Purdy is a good quarterback, but by no means am I saying he's not a good quarterback. He is a decent quarterback, especially as a rookie, especially just starting for San Francisco, NFC West. I think he can hold his own until he breaks down.
Here's the thing. And again, remember Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts played his second year, right, in which the full season, won 9 games, went to the playoffs, and lost. There were still question marks about Jalen Hurts. After going through having a winning season and after making the playoffs, there were still question marks. A full season. Brock Purdy played 5 games, okay? He played 5 games at the end of a season against subpar teams. Didn't win a single game on the other side of the Mississippi, came to Philadelphia and got stomped, right? Because of the offensive line, because of all these other gaps that San Francisco had. They hadn't seen a defense like the Eagles. Now you go into the offseason where he's rehabbing, and he's going to come back and have to play a full year behind an offensive line that has not been fixed, Okay, you got a lot of weapons on offense, but the offensive line, it was not one of them. So it'll be interesting to see if he, first thing, lasts the whole season, and second thing, can be consistent, because 5 games, and then now you got film on you. I mean, granted, hats off to the guy. He went down to Dallas and beat them on the road. However, if you look at that game, look at Brock Purdy's numbers. He didn't put up spectacular numbers against the Cowboys, and the Cowboys didn't have a no-nonsense defense, right? So we'll see. But again, I think if Jalen Hurts was unproven after going, 9-8, making the playoffs, now you're going to say that Brock Purdy is the answer in San Francisco after 5 games.
I never said that. I never said Brock Purdy was the answer. I started out saying he's like a bad computer program. He starts off running, and then he just shuts down. I said I didn't think he was a horrible quarterback, especially for a rookie.
Well, I think the jury's out on that.
I didn't say he was on par. I didn't say he was on par or equal to Jalen Hurts. I never said that.
No, I never, I didn't think you said that either. But
Jalen Hurts is not like a computer program that shuts down. Brock Purdy is.
But again, if we look at, there's a sleeper in that division, Seattle, who's got sneakingly better in the offseason, who has a proven quarterback, who's pretty consistent, with Geno. So, I mean, we'll see. Because, again, the quarterback position, there goes the quarterback position, there goes the team. And so, if you have a quarterback,
this is the preseason.
With a question mark, I don't think that's a lot of confidence builder for the season.
This is the preseason. I also want you to talk about the Buffalo Bills and Hamlin returning. Now, if I were Hamlin and I had cardiac arrest 2 times on that field during the playoffs, I'd be scared to come back to work.
And this is where you get into the conspiracy theories about the NFL, because there's no reason why any of us would go back after having a stroke or a heart attack and play at that level. I mean, you're talking about 1.5% of the world athletes can play in the NFL on a consistent basis. And the average NFL career is 2 to 3 years. So you have this guy coming back after having almost dying. He almost died in front of the whole nation on Monday Night Football. And now he's back. Now, so that in and of itself is a good news story. I think part of this is just about the hype around the fact that he's coming back. But I hope they don't put him in a position where this young man goes through that same period again. Because again, your heart starts at birth and it doesn't stop until you die. It's one of the few machines in nature that is expected to run nonstop for decades, right? And then you had a situation where it stopped and you're losing oxygen to the brain and all these other things. You're done. We're toast. Strokes, that means you're toast. So to be in that position and it was almost not a perfect hit in the sense of it's good, but it was almost like, it was one of those things where, it hit at just the spot that would create that type of situation. And I'd be scared to death for my life to go back and have to it'd be triggering even to have to put on pads and go out there and play again. So I commend the young man. I think he also deserves this shot, but I also think that from just a health perspective, I think it's a huge risk. So, I'm not against his opportunity to do it, but I couldn't do it. So let's put it that way. I could not do it after.
Right. And that's what I said. I couldn't do it either. And I just want to say, first off, as you talked about the human heart, I just thought about God and thank God that he built a human body and machine that does that. That's amazing. Todd, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that you all aren't 21 years old either. So you're fearless at that age. And that was a fluke. That doesn't happen on a daily basis. That was an athlete in the prime of his life, doing what he loves to do. And that was a fluke. That will probably never happen to him again. And I can understand the fear of, but I think you're looking at that fear at how old are you? 60, 70 years old? But
You
he's
must be talking to
21.
Keith. You know, even if you're talking to Keith. Yes,
But
he's a senior citizen.
But he's young enough to dispel that fear and do it anyway. And
Hey, look, so I'm not that old. I can't remember how I was at 21 and the mindset that I have. In fact, I feel like I still have the same mindset, by the way, Todd. But some of us lift weights and stay in shape and know what we're doing over here.
do you
But
want
that
me to
being
stand
said,
up?
go ahead, flex, Todd. Flex.
I'm not
Todd,
flexing anything.
What in the, don't be showing your little chest at us. What's wrong with you? I'm toned and I'm in the BMI. I'm in the range I need to be. All right.
Okay.
I don't know.
So okay, so let's talk about this is the preseason, and for people like Todd who don't know anything about the NFL, the
What?
preseason, everyone's still trying out. Everyone's still trying out for their teams, at the prospective teams that they're playing for, and the games really don't count towards the regular season schedule or the regular season. What do you call that, Aguna? The regular season.
The Ravens actually have the longest streak in preseason. They have 24. They have a 24 streak winning preseason.
Right.
And a lot of those are against the Eagles, by the way, because they play us in preseason pretty much every year.
So let me go on to the Pac-12 real quick.
Or as
they were basically
the Pac-7.
Well, it might as well be.
He said the Pac-10.
Pac-10. What was it? The
That's
Big
what he
Ten?
said, actually, Cousin Todd.
I know. I was
so they were really
ridiculous. Surprise.
So they make money. It says UCLA pulled out in December. They were supposed to make $62 million per year from the Big Ten's new media rights deal. So they switched over to the Big Ten. So basically, what's happening is these schools can make money with media deals in different conferences. So they leave their conference based on the media deals because their conference is not doesn't have a media deal, probably because the schools aren't popular enough to attract the viewers that the ads that the people who are placing ads want to reach. So if the Pac-12 doesn't give you a great multi-million-dollar deal, they switched over to another conference that's going to give them that and bring them some more money, because as it is, I think the higher education model is falling apart slowly.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
What are you going to say, Aguna?
Well, he doesn't know anything about
I'm trying to think
football,
who's in the Pac-12. We got, was it Oregon? I know Colorado, Arizona,
Let's
Arizona
look.
State.
Let's look at the schools.
Because again, there's football and then there's basketball, and then there's, of course, baseball.
There's softball, there's wrestling, there's plenty NCAA.
The problem with the Pac-12 is they always have a team. They always have a team that goes undefeated or something and ends up like winning the Pac-12, and they go
let me share my screen.
They jack up the playoffs because they got this winning record. They come out the Pac-12 and they get stomped by the 4th ranked team in the SEC. So
SEC, right? Because the SEC plays like they play better than some of the NFL teams. So the Pac-12 is made up of, you see that, Colorado. Can you see that, or should I make that bigger?
I thought there were 12 teams in the Pac-12. There's only 5? Oh, man.
I think they've left. Colorado, Arizona State, Arizona, California, and Oregon. And you know who is heading up Oregon. And they say that the head coach of Oregon has the key and has the winning ticket for how to save college football. But nobody's listening to him. I wonder why.
Yeah, Cal. Man,
so who's the coach? Who's the coach of Oregon? The Oregon Ducks.
I know it's not Chip Kelly anymore. I know that's for certain. But I mean, I don't know. It's good trivia. It's Jeopardy. It doesn't
Deputy
even
Wright.
matter. This whole thing is about Deion, see whether he can compete at this level. We'll see what happens, because if that's the slate of teams he has to work against. Now, I think he also has to play Stanford. I think he plays USC. I thought he played some other teams.
Well, Stanford left. Oh,
But I
he's the
think
head
they're
coach of
still
the
on the
UCLA
schedule.
Bruins. So Chip Kelly is the head coach of the UCLA Bruins.
Yeah. Right.
Right? That's not California. That's UCLA. Separate team. So, where did Aguna go? I don't know where Aguna went.
Yeah, he disappeared. It's
He
like
must have got
Todd. They must have got bumped off.
he must have gotten bumped off. I'll wait till he comes back. Anyway, let's move on.
Todd is gone too.
I got kicked out. Sorry.
Hey, what happened?
I have no idea. I was right in the middle of my sentence. But yeah, Chip Kelly.
What was your sentence?
No, I was going to say I didn't realize he still coached for UCLA. I know he had left there after he left the NFL, but I didn't realize he was still coaching out there. That's interesting.
Yeah,
So,
he's still coaching out there. So,
I give him
anything
credit.
else?
I'm a Chip Kelly fan, by the way. One of the few Eagles fans that respect Chip Kelly. So I wish him the best.
Okay, so the Pac-12 merger, they are in the ACC. Let's talk about the ACC and college football.
Interesting about the ACC this year. I know North Carolina's like 21. I think Clemson is 9. Don't quote me on that, but Florida State of all teams is 8. And I'm like, whoa, when did that happen? I know Clemson, typically has a very strong recruiting class, but I didn't think that, and I'm not a big Clemson fan by any means. I'm a USC Gamecock fan first. I would think that Clemson would be ranked ahead of Florida State. I humbly disagree with the rankings, even though college rankings, you can take them with a grain of salt, in the beginning. It's not until late September that these teams start really showing who they are.
Let's look at this. You see that you were right, Aguna. Syracuse, Florida State, North Carolina State, Wake Forest, and Boston College. What is really interesting is to have Florida State and
now this is the
Syracuse
East, right?
Together.
There's the North. Well, there's the North and South
ACC.
part of the conference. Because Clemson's in
right,
they're missing Clemson, North Carolina,
and the Flyers.
Yeah, whatever.
The Flyers and the Dolphins, they're not on there. That's weird. That's strange.
You can look at you can expand that, Stacey, the top 25 to kind of, but
right.
They're not showing the whole conference, right? Is what I'm saying.
American Athletic Conference.
Oh, that's why
the
Flyers aren't on there.
You see that?
Yeah, who cares about that conference? These are some of the weak. That's one of the weaker.
American Athletic Conference, Temple, USTA, Charlotte. Yeah. Can you see that? Yeah. Charlotte, yep. Rice, SMU, East Carolina, Memphis, Navy, Tulane, Tulsa, South Florida, Florida Atlantic, North Texas, University. UAB is Alabama, right?
Yeah, no. University.
Oh my gosh. Stacey doesn't know anything about, you know what? Never mind. Just forget I said anything.
Help her out, Todd. What are you doing, man? Don't complain.
Yeah, it's university. No, I'm correct. And of course, Todd would love for me to be incorrect. So let me share my screen. Let me share this screen. I am correct. University of Alabama, Cousin Todd. But it's University of Alabama, Cousin Todd. At Birmingham.
Yeah.
Yeah. UAB.
But Todd said, oh, Stacey's wrong. Of course he would think that when he doesn't know the difference between a basketball and a soccer ball, a baseball or a hockey puck, a football or a tennis ball.
Well, he knows he doesn't like either one of them. So, I mean, I think that's probably all he cares about.
Blah, blah, blah. I'm bored.
Yeah, now it's blah, blah, blah. Let's move on to Todd's favorite subject.
Please don't say
Tennis.
tennis. Jesus Christ.
Tennis.
No, sorry,
Mhm,
not tennis.
mhm.
Todd's favorite subject.
Oh, be still my heart.
The mountain man. Trump.
Donald Trump indicted again in Georgia. But not only is he indicted again, according to CNN.com, there's about 18 people or 18 associates that have been
19.
indicted with
Right.
him.
Mm-hmm.
19.
No,
What did you
18
say,
plus
Keith?
him.
19.
He said 19.
Oh, okay.
It's 18 plus him. That makes 19. Of course, you're
So is this
worried
his
about
third? Is this his third or fourth indictment?
4.
Fourth criminal.
Yeah, number 4.
Which one is it?
Number 4. This is the 4th one.
criminal.
They can bring all the indictments they want. It's not going to do any good.
Who is they? You're talking about the American people.
No, the Democrat Party.
No, it's the American people. It's the Justice Department.
The DOJ.
That's the American people. Okay.
And the latest one was
let's not again. You're gonna go and dive into scapegoat and try to point fingers, but less about what's about accountability. Because at the end of the day, Trump put himself in this position.
Aguna.
You should be
What's
accountable.
that woman's name? What's the woman's name? The latest one in Georgia.
Hillary Clinton is her name. Remember?
No, the district.
Remember how you all rode her for years?
Man, see, at the end of the day, Keith, you are proving that you hate America because every time when we come with up these subjects, you revert to tribalism. That means you don't like the country as a whole. You just want to point fingers and take a side.
No, it's a serious question. What is her name? The black woman.
I don't know. You tell me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Again, this is another tactic. This is another tactic from the far right. You want to attack her character, attack her individually. At the end of the day, did Trump do it?
Her name is Fannie Willis.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Her name is Fannie Willis.
Her name is Ruby. That's who was stalked and harassed because Donald Trump targeted her.
Trump put himself in this position. And if you can't hold him accountable as an American or as a so-called conservative, you shouldn't want to even have to talk about this stuff. We should be talking about policy.
Okay, so wait a minute. Let's let Keith say what he has to say. Keith, they were interrupting you. And I apologize for letting them interrupt you. So go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, because he's a victim like Trump's a victim.
Yeah, all they can do is accuse because he accuses me all.
He didn't accuse anything.
I say that if you can tell me one Republican who is indicted Trump, one DOJ, one DO of the DOJ, one district attorney or any type of top attorney who has come against Trump, I'll believe you that you think that I am a conspirator.
So let me ask you something.
I don't understand the question.
Todd, can you answer?
I mean, so
what was the question?
To my original point, you want to talk about
I'm bored.
Policy.
What Republican district attorney?
We're talking about the law. I don't care. We as Americans shouldn't care, right? Did he do it or not? And if he did, we should hold him accountable.
But you don't get it. The Americans
it's political. So okay, it's political. So Donald Trump didn't do any of the things that they're accusing him of.
Okay, wait.
Lynching
here. Aguna.
They're not. So Donald Trump is just a victim.
Wait.
Wait a minute. Okay, hold on.
Hold it.
Keith, you can't answer a question. I want you to make a point instead of asking. You ask a question. What's your point, Keith? Let Keith finish.
All right, my point is simply, and I know Aguna's not going to answer it because all he's going to do is accuse.
I will answer it.
What about the judges? All the judges of these courts are Trump appointed.
All of this is a Democrat scheme to keep Trump from running next year and to keep people in confusion. So this is a definite Democrat conspiracy, if you want to put it. Because
we're not going to use that word.
Are Democrat. All of the.
So let me ask you something.
No. Wait. Let me answer the question he asked. He said, "Name me some Republicans that." Okay, Mitch McConnell, he said Trump should be held responsible. Remember that?
He's not a Republican. According to Keith, Mike Pence is not a Republican.
The Speaker of the House said
Chris
Donald
Christie
Trump
is not a Republican.
The
all these
Speaker
people
of the
aren't
House,
Republicans because they don't agree with Trump all of a sudden. The fearless leader, if you go against the fearless leader, because Trump is like, hey, if it happens to me, they're going to do it to you. He becomes the state. I'm an American first. I'm not a Trump cultist.
Okay, now hold it. Mitch McConnell said Trump should be held responsible. So those are all Republicans who said Trump should be held responsible for. Now, okay. So now you just changed it. Now it's
because he doesn't care. It doesn't matter to him. Okay, he just wants the fight in the dog. He doesn't care about Trump's policies. He doesn't care about any Trump's character. He just knows that Trump triggers the Democrats. Therefore, he's going to jump in bed with Trump and say, we're going to defend Trump no matter what. He's not looking at policy. You're not looking at the fact that if Trump is the best Republicans can do, because Trump is a Democrat, believe it or not. As much as you talk about the Democrat, Trump is more of a Democrat than a Republican.
Well, why don't the conservative Republicans go after Trump?
Because y'all are stupid.
Wait, no. Because they don't want
y'all think that he's on your side, even though he's anti-abortion, he's pro-tariff. You know, I'm like, he's a populist. Why do conservatives like populism all of a sudden? And by the way, there are conservatives that do not.
So let me share this. Let me share the screen, please, and let's read and see, because we got to move on. We have to move on. A Georgia indictment of former President Donald Trump for his efforts to overturn the 2020 election lists at least 27 lies Trump told about the election, and that's counting conservatively. The new indictment, handed up Monday by a grand jury in Fulton County, Georgia, is the second indictment this month to function as a kind of prosecutorial fact of the former president's relentless campaign of election-related dishonesty. A federal indictment in early August, which also charged Trump for his efforts to subvert the will of the voters, listed 21 of his election lies. This article was written by Daniel Dale, CNN, published 5:45 p.m. Wednesday, August 16th, today.
Stacey,
Cousin Todd.
Can I make one quick point? And I want all the viewers to remember this, because if you go back and watch the tape, my fellow panelist, Keith, came on this show with a clip that Rudy Giuliani had sent to right-wing media showing these women pulling out boxes and trading little jump drives. And they called her but Keith came on this show trying to tout that as a reference to show that there was election fraud going on. Now, what has happened since then? Rudy Giuliani has confessed that it was a lie. He said that because he has a defamation suit against him. So he withdrew the fact that he even said that, right? So this is the thing. And again, this is your master who you choose to defend. At the end of the day, as an American, we need to hold political figures accountable. And whether you think this is a conspiracy theory or whatever is going on, the fact that he put himself in this position to be gone after the way he's getting charged, he has to be accountable for that. And as a conservative, you should want justice, right? And if you don't think that this is justice, you need to think at the end of the day, what great leader would put himself in this position to be a victim? That doesn't show strength, by the way. If he's dumb enough to get in this position where the Democrats can go after him, what makes you think he can lead the party anywhere?
Let him answer.
I'm waiting.
Well, there is. Well, last I checked, he didn't put himself in position. They went after him since the day he came down that escalator in 2016.
Oh, okay. See?
They've been investigating.
See? He's a victim.
Yes.
He didn't put himself in this position. He didn't mishandle classified documents. He didn't make the call that said, find me the votes. He didn't say all these lies that they said he did. He didn't do any of that stuff. He didn't do an insurrection. He didn't incite a riot. He didn't do any of that stuff, right? They just
illegal.
coming after him because he's just such a great man and such a great leader. We got to take him out.
Free speech, right? First Amendment right to say, find me some votes. They all say it. And there's nothing illegal about that. There's nothing
illegal about saying and calling. Nothing illegal about using. Now, this is not me and you saying, hey, Keith, find me some votes. This is the president of the United. This is the sitting president of the United States. And it's not just what he said, it's what he did. He was putting pressure on the Georgia legislature. He came up with fake electors to substitute the electors that had been democratically elected he tried to circumvent the whole election process just to win. He went to Dominion. He defamed Dominion Voting, the Dominion Voting Company, which they settled a lawsuit with Fox News. And you don't do a lawsuit for a multi-million dollars if it's not a lie. So there are all these things, all this evidence. His own legal team withdrew evidence that they were submitting before judges because they knew they didn't have a case. Yet you, Keith, want to sit here and defend this man 3 years later for what? And you can't even tell me one of his policies. You just want him to win for some reason because, again, he's taking it to the libs. So in your mind, he's a good guy.
You want a policy? Drill for oil. And you want another policy? Close
That's
the border.
Not a policy. That's a Keith opinion.
Build the wall.
Those you just heard on right-wing media.
Those are policies.
What does that even mean? You can't even bake that.
Opposite.
Drill for oil. We do drill for oil. What is that? What are you talking about?
Not very much.
Talk about let's talk some breaking news.
Okay, Stacey, I just want to make this one point. Keith, your homework assignment is to go and look for all the unused licenses, oil licenses on federal land that the current oil companies don't use, that they haven't used yet. All right. You're saying drill, baby, drill, but there are licenses that are going unused by the oil companies because, again, energy independence in this country is a myth. Because if I'm an oil company and I want to make money, why would I drill more and drive down the price? I'm going to inflate the price to make maximum profit. But for some reason, you as a consumer don't understand that.
Sorry, I got to move on. Let me share my screen. This is some breaking news. North Carolina legislature overrides the governor's veto of 3 bills targeting transgender youth. CNN.com by Dan Gallagher, published 7:49 p.m. Wednesday, August 14th. That was only a few minutes ago. The North Carolina legislature's Republican supermajority voted to override vetoes from the state's Democratic governor on a slew of bills this evening, now including a trio of measures that target transgender youth. The House and Senate's override votes, which passed largely along party lines, means bills that ban gender-affirming care for minors. That means health care for these minors who are still under their parents' jurisdiction. Restrict how gender identity can be discussed in schools, and prohibits transgender athletes from competing on girls' sports teams are now law in the state. Keith.
Hallelujah. You know, why do they say that is health care? I mean, we're not talking about health care, a person's health. We're talking about basically what you just said, the transgenders, affirming transgender identity. That has nothing to do with health, at least not physical health, maybe mental health. I don't know. But, that's ridiculous. I think it's a good ban. Thank God. Thank you, G.
Okay, Aguna, then Todd.
He made everyone.
Yeah, so unfortunately, this has become the topic, a kitchen table topic for some reason on the Republican side. For some reason, they want to go after transgender people who are a very small fraction of the population. Again, I'm just very nervous about the fact that, now that, the Supreme Court is pushing a lot of, they're looking at the constitutionality of laws and they're pushing it back on the states to make determination of some of these laws. And you see what the states are doing. They're actually making laws that are expanding government oversight of individuals, which I think is against, a lot of the things that the Republican Party used to be for, small government. The gender affirming care, I think, is a private matter, and it's not something that government should be involved with. Now, with these other laws about transgender competing in girls' sports, okay. Again, I don't know how many cases in which this is happening around the country, but I think it should be a case by case. I've coached flag football, and I had girls on my team. So there's some sports that it doesn't matter if you're a girl or a boy, you can play in it, right? And there are other sports that may give a competitive advantage to. I don't think the government is in a place to make these determinations. It should be case by case. It should be up to, it should be an opportunity for private citizens to discuss these matters and not have the government come with some sweeping broad brush agenda. Because again, if you're saying transgender can't compete in girls' sports and there's girls' flag football where both boys and girls participate, I mean, I think it's an overreach by government in that. And the last one about what you learn in school. Again, I don't think the government should be telling us what we need to learn in school. Now, I understand as a parent that I don't necessarily want drag queens or whatever reading to my kid. I think that's part is based on the school district. And then what are we really talking about? What they're learning are they learning that this is an option, or are they learning that, just to be tolerant? There's certain things that we need to be reviewed in order to make those determinations. I don't think that the government should be the one coming in there and telling people what to learn, what to think, and all these other things. I think that's something that we as citizens can figure out on our own.
Cousin Todd.
Okay. I guess I'll take this topic first, but I want to comment, which I didn't get a chance to comment on because Aguna goes crazy now that Stephen isn't here.
You can actually hear me,
This is so typical of Republicans like Keith. They're bored stiff, and they know how dumb the American people are, the Republicans in particular. And they bite every time they throw up this. They throw up a few things. This is what the Republicans throw up to get your attention, to get you to vote for them. Nigger, 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 nigger. Gay, 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 gay. Trans, 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 trans. And then they say, oh, we got to vote them out. We got to get rid of them. But Keith doesn't know he's part of the problem because they're talking about you. So, that has nothing to do with Keith whatsoever. That doesn't put food on Keith's table. Keith has no children in the school district. So none of these things apply to him. So why he's so interested, I will never know. I can remember asking Keith before because he said it's a sin to be gay. And I asked Keith, I said, Keith, do you sin? And he said, yeah. I said, do you sin every day? He said, yeah. So if that is the case, why in the world would you interest yourself in somebody else sinning every day? You've got your own problems. Deal with you and your own sin. God doesn't need your help for anything. So since you sin every single day, shouldn't you be interested in your own self and not these other people? Mind your own business. So that tells me
you're the best, Keith.
Stephen and Keith, they're peculiar people, especially Keith, because he has no children, nothing in the fight. So anyway, so that's what I wanted to say about that.
He was out sin, cast the first stone, Keith. Read your Bible. Read that Bible before you read that Constitution.
But this 11,000 and something votes Trump wanted. Now, just imagine Obama calling an official state representative and asking him to find me. This is after the voting has ended. Find me. And this is how fake Keith is. And I have no respect for fake people because I like flat truth, hard or soft. If anybody called an official after the fact, voting has been over, find me 11,000 votes. Keith, stop it. You know that's ridiculous. And so anyway, I want to move past that one because you can't defend that.
And you can't talk the whole show, Cousin Todd.
Oh, look at this. I got about 30 seconds of talk. Trump taking papers from the White House, which he had no business doing. But even that can be forgiven if he gave them back. He didn't give them back, Keith. He refused to give them back. He sent some of them back, and he wasn't charged for that. But he pretended he didn't have any more, and he had his lawyers lie, which that female lawyer is in trouble now for saying she gave them all back. He has no more. And they knew he did. So it took a year and a half for them to raid, because they were begging him to give it back. So they raided his house, his hotel, and found boxes and boxes of papers that should not have been there. So, Keith, you have to be accountable for that. That's just sensible, rational, fair. He's getting indicted for everything. No, only for what he did. When the
what about Hunter Biden? What about Benghazi?
When the insurrection happened, why did he allow that to go on for hours? Watching it on TV. Why didn't he stop them and say, get out of there now? It took him hours to do that. He's got to be held accountable for that. I'm gonna stop there. I got a few more.
Thank you. Wow. Yay. Whoa. Stop.
Hey, Stacey,
I just wanted to give him a few examples of why he's being held accountable.
He didn't listen to those examples 3 shows ago. He's not
right. So you wasted our time.
You know, Keith,
like Aguna said, he wasn't listening to you, Todd. You wasted our time.
He doesn't listen to his own hairline. He doesn't listen to his hairline. What do you think he's going to listen to you?
Can I make a quick response, Stacey?
Go ahead.
To which one?
Ezekiel, to the one about me speaking. Ezekiel 3 says it. I think this says it, and I won't say it anymore. Ezekiel chapter 3 in the Bible actually says, I am sending you to a people who are stubborn and hard-headed, and I will make your face harder than their faces so that you'll be strong and tough like they are. But God commands Ezekiel the prophet to speak the truth regardless of whether they will hear or whether they will not. And that's the same thing that I'm doing because I'm answering to God when I go to heaven. So I'm going to just go ahead.
Let me ask you, was Ezekiel a sinner?
Ezekiel was a sinner, yes.
Well, there was a woman in the Bible. I can't remember her name.
And all that.
Every man is a sinner when he meets Christ.
Really? Okay. But you're sin, but you want to point out sin and just be like, hey, I'm just going to, okay, cool.
Because can
I move on? Because we're almost out of time and we still have like 3 things
our
to
listeners
go.
need to understand the hypocrisy that's going on over here.
And God overlooks
I think they got it.
Christ.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So Hunter Biden, as you were just mentioning, Aguna, Hunter Biden.
Keith, get ready. Here comes Keith. Get ready.
A sudden new twist in the investigation into Hunter Biden means his legal tribulations will likely stretch on for months, creating an unwelcome new drag on his father's White House and re-election bid. Just weeks ago, the shadow of the criminal suspicion over Hunter Biden seemed to be about to lift. But the elevation of David Weiss, the prosecuting investigating President Joe Biden's son, to special counsel status on that Friday, which was weeks ago, was as important for symbolic and political reasons as it was for legal ones. The new status grants him extra powers to broaden his inquiries, potentially into other states beyond his current patch as U.S. Attorney in Delaware. Do you think this is going to affect Cousin Todd by President Biden's reelection run?
No, no, that has nothing to do with him. There were other presidents that families got involved in things they shouldn't have, like Bill Clinton's brother, for example, got in trouble, or Donald Trump's daughter getting patents from China while working in the White House, or his son-in-law who got $2 billion from the Saudis while working in the White House. So no, I don't think. Hey Keith, did you hear what I said? Are you asleep? Are you woke? Oh, goody. And so I don't think this will affect him.
Well, yeah, you mentioned, Todd, you actually mentioned President Trump's woes, and he did not win re-election.
No, well,
you made it a complete comparison.
He didn't get in trouble for what his family did. He didn't lose.
It wasn't
the
even
election.
really an issue.
No.
Again, I think this is a lot of wasted time. I know the House Republicans wanted to elevate to expand the probe. And why do they want to expand the probe? They don't care about Hunter Biden. They just want to link it to Joe Biden. Because instead of any policy issues we want to debate, we want to investigate what the president knew and when he knew it. Now, mind you, the guy that he's running against has been twice impeached and has 4 criminal charges against him. But we want to go and dive and use American taxpayer dollars to understand what the president knew and when he knew it. Because at the end of the day, this could backfire. You're going to spend all this time and effort. They're not going to find anything. And you're going to turn around and be in the middle of an election cycle. And Joe Biden's going to be like, see, if they wasted all this money to an investigation that didn't find anything. What do you think they're going to do with regulations and everything else? These people are incompetent. They don't want to govern. They just want to dang on shame and scapegoat.
That's right. But let me just say that doesn't stop them, because remember Hillary Clinton? Remember how they investigated her about Benghazi for years?
And the
which
emails
Keith loved, clean. Which Keith loved that.
5 years. They investigated Hillary Clinton for 5 years for the Benghazi. Now, mind you, she was Secretary of State. A country had fallen out. The embassy got attacked. She thought it was related. The first intel said it was related to an ad, and there was a lot of stuff going on. Did she mess up? Yeah. But why do you want to investigate? Yeah, sometimes we understand things that happen. It's bad. But this whole thing about Hunter Biden, now mind you.
And Hunter Biden Hunter
but that was
Biden
was Hunter Biden. I mean, and this is
Hunter Biden. Let me get this out. Take an inhale. Was investigated for 5 years. So now here we go again with another investigation. This is, but because Keith doesn't know this isn't because Hunter Biden did anything. They're not trying to. This is simply, just like you say, they're charging Trump just to make him lose the election. That's in your head. These things he did years ago. And you know he did them, like paying that prostitute, Stormy Daniels. You have to be held accountable for that. You can't take election money and spend it on prostitutes. Now,
Hunter Biden, but what did Hunter Biden do? He didn't pay his taxes until he paid them. He paid his taxes. He said he was on drugs, and he said he wasn't to get a gun. You know, I'm like, okay, who goes and says I'm on drugs when they get a gun? No,
well, this is how they feel. This is how they feel about Trump having sex with a prostitute. So what? Who cares what he did? Unless his name is Bill Clinton, then they make a big deal out of it. So it's just at its finest. And Keith is too, I think, unaware to know that.
He's aware. Let's not give Keith a pat. He knows what he's doing. He doesn't want to believe.
All right, I got to move on. We got to do our round table.
Wait, Keith is saying something.
Did Bill Clinton get impeached for what he did with those women?
Yes, ma'am. Bill Clinton was impeached.
After that, get indictments and all that?
Wait. Bill Clinton got impeached. Okay? Got it?
But he still served 8 years, right?
Ma'am, they voted for him.
That wasn't your question.
Yes, ma'am. But yes, They voted for him, and he won. He didn't
Right.
have to pretend that he won and
So
say it
if
was
they vote
fraud.
for Trump, so next year, if they vote for Trump and he wins, will you be satisfied? Will you be satisfied?
So
Yes,
the first
I
thing,
will be satisfied. If Trump wins, I'm satisfied. I like a fair election.
Trump
All
would
right.
never admit he's taking politics to a new low because he doesn't concede. I mean, it's just like, if I don't feel like I lost, there's no reason why I should not. I mean,
Okay,
Even
I
though-
got to move on. If you see the
Even though
screen,
60 courts said you lost. 60.
yeah,
60
and there's
I gotta
no
move
sign of
on.
election
lost.
fraud.
His attorney general, Republican Bill Barr, said you lost. All of his legal representation said you lost. So he got quacks like Keith and Stephen and other freaks to say, you didn't lose, it was fraud. And
That's right.
okay, if you look at the
I mean, in
screen,
this day and
excuse
age,
me,
you would be able to find it.
if you look at the screen, Aguna, if you want to talk about Reuters.com article, says Niger says 17 of its soldiers were killed in an ambush near Burkina Faso border by Musa Aksar, written today, August-16, 2023 at 2:23 p.m. Niger's junta on Wednesday said 17 of its soldiers were killed in an ambush by insurgents, the deadliest attack since a July 26 coup, whose leaders have cited persistent insecurity as a justification for deposing the civilian government. The ambush took place yesterday, 40 miles from the capital, on the border of Burkina Faso. The defense ministry said, adding that 100 attackers, it referred to as terrorists, were killed.
Yes. So
a swift reaction of the soldiers and the air-land response at the scene of the skirmish enabled the enemy to be dealt with, the ministry said. Aguna, what is going on in Niger?
So you have this junta take over in a coup, the democratically elected government in Niger. And so now this military, and the reason why they took over was because they said of what just happened, all this destabilization. So now you have the West as well. So what's happening, a bigger picture, and now I'll go down to Niger. Bigger picture is what's happening in sub-Saharan Africa and other parts of Africa is a decoupling from colonial powers. What that means is Niger was originally a French colony. The French had a vested interest in the resources in Niger, so they propped up a government there who got overthrown by the military. So now it's in the French best interest to get this, to squash this coup. And so they've been influencing ECOWAS, which is the Nigerian equivalent of NATO, to go in and get rid of the Q leaders and things like that. And so what happened in Nigeria is most Nigerian citizens says that's not our problem. In fact, the Nigerian president who voted to go into war with Niger was overturned by the Nigerian Senate because Nigeria in and of itself has a lot of unstable reasons, and they're dealing with terrorists and Boko Haram and things like that. But what's happening is you're seeing these democratically elected countries fall in sub-Saharan Africa, and the West that propped them up, are finding it hard to support these countries because these countries like Niger and like Nigeria, they don't want necessarily a democratically elected system because it gets very
So let me ask you, where does the influx, where does the influence of China and Russia come in? China and Russia, communists, are going to the continent.
That is the interesting dynamic that's happening, right? So in this vacuum where these coup leaders are taking over and they're toppling these democratically elected governments, the Wagner Group, Russia and China, India step in and they prop them up because they're like, we don't care how you treat your people and humanitarian and stuff, all that. All we care about is, you giving us money to mine your resources, or you giving us money to, to build and construct your cities. And by the way, you can treat your people how you want to, and we're not going to pressure your government. We're not going to worry about LGBTQ rights and everything like that. We're just going to, make money, and you can use your own resources. We'll help you as long as you don't work with the West. And so what's happening is that's why Trump is popular in sub-Saharan Africa, because they see him as a strong man. And what he's doing in the United States is exactly what's happening in Africa. What's happening in Africa is going to happen here if we continue to allow Trump to do what he's doing, because they're overriding their institutions. They're overriding the will of the people. And you're having the military come in there and take over. And in certain countries, the military, I remember Nigeria back in the day, they used to have a coup every week, but the country was stable because everybody was scared. They didn't want to go up against the military because the military will kill you if you caught robbing and things like that. So some countries like military dictatorships, and they don't like democratically elected congresses and things like that, because those congressmen have become very corrupt. Because that's who our congressmen are very corrupt in this country, but we make it legal because they call it lobbying and things like that. So what's happening in Africa is just a microcosm of what's happening in a lot of other Western countries where populist movements are are taking over, and there's a small fraction of the people that are using the gullibleness of the rest of the people to take control. And that's all that's happening in Nigeria. How they respond is going to be interesting, because it's going to determine how democracy is going to last in Africa, whether or not it will.
Yeah, that's very important, because Africa has a lot of minerals that the world needs to survive.
If it wasn't for them, they wouldn't have cell phones.
Move on. This is our roundtable. Please check out this article on CNN.com. Sheriff says he is ashamed after 5 of his former deputies plead guilty to torture of 2 Black men in Mississippi. This is by Devin Sayers and Zoe Sottle on Friday, August 4th at 7:59 p.m. A Mississippi sheriff said he was ashamed and apologized after 5 of his former deputies pleaded guilty to charges related to the torture of 2 Black men. We're going to start with Keith, then Aguna, then Cousin Todd. Please tell us your views on that and whatever you may have to say about Maui.
Brutality. Oh, yeah.
Hawaii, police brutality. Go ahead, Keith.
Well, it's really kind of a strange phenomenon to me, how some people just don't get it. They don't see. I mean, why would these these men torture Black men, knowing the environment of our culture today? I mean, you're going to be, either they're not afraid of prosecution, they're not afraid that the crowds will come in. You know what I'm saying? The usual people come out. They're not afraid of Sharpton. They're just not afraid of consequences. And that kind of bothers me more than anything, because we have criminals that are out smashing and grabbing. They have large masses of people out stealing. I don't know. They're probably different races there. I don't know. But people do this. They feel they can get away with it. Nobody stops them. And if you try to stop them, you get prosecuted yourself, fired. Maybe their fellow sheriffs probably thought maybe, oh God, we might get fired if we don't. See, so again, people are not afraid that there would be any consequences to ill or bad behavior. And that is what is scary, most scary in all of this situation that we have here. We have no justice. I'm not, and I have to say, just like the liberals, the Black Lives Matter used to say, no justice, no peace. Well, they're right. There is no peace because there is no justice. So I'm hoping that God, the grace of God, will, overshadow this and intervene eventually. I believe God will intervene, and that we will see, justice as it really is. Because these guys, man, that was crazy for them to do that. I have to admit, that was a very stupid thing to do. I mean, I would say, why would you do that, knowing that there could be consequences to your action? And these are the
okay. Excuse me. If you look at this article I have up here, it says the lawsuit said the officers handcuffed, kicked, waterboarded, and attempted to sexually assault Jenkins and Parker.
Yeah,
it culminated with one deputy placing a gun in Jenkins' mouth and shooting him, which has left him permanent physical injuries, cognitive damage, and long-term psychological damage.
Yeah, that's great.
A horrible, horrible incident. Do you want to talk about the Maui fires?
Just that I find it interesting that Joe Biden isn't doing too much publicly I mean, I guess now he's trying to say, well, I'm gonna visit when I get it. But
He's in Hawaii. He went to Hawaii yesterday.
okay, but when they asked him earlier to make a comment, he didn't want to make a comment. I mean, he couldn't even make a simple comment.
He's cherry picking. Well, you want him to go out there and throw paper towels? You want him to go and throw paper towels into the crowd?
Maybe that's it. Maybe he's just slower. That's all.
No, maybe you want him to throw paper towels and do a show, do a song and dance.
Thank you, Aguna. Mississippi, then Maui. So Mississippi, you see what they did.
Again,
officers handcuffed, kicked, waterboarded, attempted to sexually assault, and then shot in the mouth, Mr. Jenkins.
I think Keith is right. People think that they are above the law. I wonder why. When you have Donald Trump up here and, when the justice tries to be served, all of a sudden the justice, because of somebody that I like, is no longer justice. It's a conspiracy. This is, again, the culture that we're living in right now. If you think you can get away with it, you're going to get away with it. I guarantee you this isn't the first time they've done something like this. So at the end of the day, people aren't being held accountable. There are cracks in the system. And, even when the system itself tries to work, there are people that, we don't want the system to work. We want it only to work when we want the person indicted or we want the person arrested and things like that. So it's an undermining of our institutions where, going back to what's happening in Africa, that's what happens. This is what happens when empires fall. People do not respect the law. And as far as Maui, it's a tragic situation. You got 99. I think last one I checked, the body count was 99. And, in those times in which there's loss, we need to come together as Americans. We shouldn't be sitting there and looking at the president and saying, hey, you know what? Even during the earthquakes and things in Puerto Rico, we didn't want to sit there. I mean, if you sit there and criticizing Donald Trump's response, well, until later on when he stopped funding to the island and stuff like that, which I was there, I saw firsthand. But I mean, in that immediate aftermath where there's such loss of life, there's such things going on, there's a lot of logistics. You can't just snap your fingers and have the U.S. National Guard land in Hawaii. Hawaii is halfway around the world. So it's going to take some logistics to get there. He immediately declared it a disaster area, which is what all presidents have done in this situation. But for some reason, because it's Joe Biden, Keith and his right-wing counterparts want to cherry pick things. First, he said he didn't do that. He didn't do much. Okay, he declared it a national disaster. He allocated funding to disaster relief. He went and spoke about it. Oh, he didn't really. They asked him about it. He didn't really say anything. I mean, again, as the president, he did what he could do in that moment. Now he's going to Hawaii, and he even said, I don't want to go to Hawaii because when I go to Hawaii, they have to make certain provisions for me, right? So I'm going to go when things on the ground are stable, so I'm not taking away from the resources needed to help people. That's what leaders do. I mean, so for some reason, in a case of tragedy in which Americans have lost lives, there's only one side that's sitting there trying to use that for political gain and to point out and to point at the president. And that's the far right.
Thank you, Guna. You gotta sum it up. I'm sorry.
So I'll sum it up by saying this. I'm praying for the people out in Hawaii. Hopefully they can get their lives back together. Some of us on the mainland aren't looking at it through a political lens. We're not looking at it through a political lens. We're looking at it through, let's do what we can to help our fellow American citizens. And that's the mature way of doing it. Not the thing I'm going to poke the bear at the president because my candidate is being indicted and I don't have a political policy leg to stand on. So I'm going to attack stupid stuff like this.
Hey, Stacey, why no warning?
Cousin Todd.
Why no warning?
I'm sorry, Cousin Todd. They talked too long. You talked too long. I'm going to talk too long. I got to go, Cousin Todd.
No. I didn't talk too long. I was quick.
No, you're not a victim. Trump isn't a victim.
I'm not a victim. I'm never a victim.
You may tell it to your president. Trump is a victim.
I'm going to go to the Mississippi case.
Yes, you look and see what they did on the screen.
Right. Well, that's nothing. That's just another day at the office. Mississippi cops, America first. And so this is what they do, and they've been doing it. I don't know why they would do that, and they knew Sharpton was going to come and get them. Oh, my gosh. They did that because that's who they are. They've been doing this for centuries. Surprise. especially the people that look like you, Keith. So that's no surprise. Um, Now, what happens is with technology, they're filmed. And so a lot of them get caught now, but they've been doing this forever. Remember in California, they used to rap about crooked cops and F the police and that kind of a thing. That's because this was going on then, Keith, right next door to you. So uh, those police should be put in jail. And I'm sure that's not the first time they did that. And it's plenty of other rotten cops like that on the force. Now, Maui. This is what happens when you have global warming. Now, Republicans don't believe in that. They think it's all a hoax. But that was fire raining down, not rain. And so that's why it spread so far so fast, which is going to happen again in other places. But it has to happen in California before Keith says.
Fire? You said fire. What do you mean? Was it a meteor shower or what? What are you talking about? Fire raining down?
It was a hurricane that was not spreading rain, but fire, because it was so hot and so dry. And this is what's going to happen again and again and again. But until it happens in California, you won't believe it.
Come on, Aguna, you got to address
How
that.
typical.
Ridiculous.
Yes, it's ridiculous.
So what happened to the sirens? Why didn't the warning signs go out?
They got burned up because a hurricane sweeps everything up. And this is not rain. This is hot fire and wind bouncing the fire from one place to another quickly. So anyway, so that's what happened. And it spread fast and it's tragic. And the fact that Biden didn't go yet that's silly. They don't want Biden there now. He's a distraction. They have work to do. So for him to come and look at stuff and say, oh, this is terrible, that doesn't help. Send the money. Stay home.
You sent them FEMA, they sent the money.
And so that's just a talking point for airheads, dumb blondes like Keith, to say, he didn't go down there. I remember there was another president that went to Puerto Rico when they had a hurricane and water was raining down everywhere. And so he thought he'd help dry up the place by throwing paper towels at the audience.
Yeah, you in the back.
And he didn't send the money. He just sent the paper towels.
Yeah,
no money.
Okay, thank you. Are you finished?
No. I wanted to say,
did Biden ever help Ohio with their tragedy?
I wanted to say this about Republicans. No. When Chris Christie was governor, he asked for money for New Jersey.
New Jersey
had a terrible, right? I just said that, and the Republicans said no. Let him drown.
Like Biden said no to
and
Ohio.
So Trump. No, let's address this. So Biden said no to Ohio. What did he say no to?
He said no because Ohio didn't qualify. There was something he didn't qualify for.
Oh gosh, I don't entertain that kind of
wait. So if you're going to make a statement, statement as it's a fact, and then you can't provide facts, that means what you're saying is
fell for it.
Governor of Ohio.
All right, we're out of time. You guys are interrupting Todd's. You're interrupting Todd's roundtable.
Yet he can't say what he didn't help Ohio.
They don't care.
But Aguna, let me just say this. Let me just say this to Aguna. Is that surprising to you?
No.
You act as if he said.
I'm not surprised. I want to call out BS when it happens, right? It's like real time,
okay.
right?
All
when
right.
Keith goes on his, because again, he doesn't have Stephen to talk over people and save him. He has these little moments where he's just going to throw something out there and hope it sticks because no one wants to ask him.
Look at Stacey's hair. Stacey, do that again with your hair.
Keith, if you're going to come to a
that hair is everything.
Don't come with a paper clip. All right, come with facts, come with figures, come with intellect, and maybe we'll respect
That's
you
right.
more.
But we've got
All right, thank you. We're out of time.
We got
Thank you.
something
We're
more
out of
important
time.
to talk about. This hair.
To our first responders in our communities,
Oh, man.
you make our lives livable. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To our women and men of the U.S. military for all that you do and sacrificing your lives so that we are free to
Your
say
voice
whatever we
again.
choose on this show. We are forever indebted. On behalf of Aguna, the
Malcolm,
Nigerian.
Go
Now, wait a minute.
birds. Go
Aguna,
birds.
take that top off.
Take
Put
that
the
top. What are
camera
you
back
talking
on Aguna. Take that top off. Let me see what your body looks like.
Nah, that's for my wife only. That's for my wife only, Todd. Not you. Not you, Todd. Hey, we could go around for round, Todd. We could, I know you did a couple of push-ups before the show.
No, I did
you
not.
Stick your chest in the
I
camera.
did not
Don't do
stick
that
it out.
again.
It's just built like that. I'm just built like that. I'm not sticking nothing out.
Yeah,
I'm
I
built
don't
like
know.
that.
It looks like can we say he has a sports bra on? Is that legal to say that on the show? Can we say that?
Have nothing. I do not.
I thought this was a kid's show, but maybe look, see. Oh, Todd, man, we're gonna have to edit that one out, man. I can't believe you. The Todd's out of control. We're gonna have to suspend him for at least one show.
Okay, I take it back.
The
Keith,
constitutional conservative.
Keith, take
there you go. Yeah, show them guns, Keith. Show them guns. First Amendment. There you go.
And my crazy, crazy, crazy cousin Todd. He'll do anything to try to get some ratings for a show.
I know.
He'll do anything.
Strip on the show, Stacey. Todd has become
outrageous. Never in the history. Outrageous.
I'm not trying to strip. I'm trying to get you boys to strip.
Nah, man. We don't want to see. Look, I'm telling you.
Okay,
Todd,
I'm Stacey Johnson. Let's keep this conversation going. Check us out. Remember, excuse me. Remember to like and subscribe to SPORLITIKS on YouTube. Aguna, like and subscribe SPORLITIKS on YouTube. Check us out follow us on Instagram. Check us out on Twitter, formerly Twitter X, Twitch, TikTok. What else? Stephanie Stallworth, The Flow Television Network, and soon we'll be on Amazon Music. They asked us. So we'll see you next week.
Keep your
have a good night.
That taco meat to yourself. I want to see them SPDs.
I don't have nappy hair. I have good hair. You have nappy hair. I have what's known.
No, I do not. I don't have any chest hair, and I'm naturally smooth like that. I don't shave.
And nobody wants to see anybody's anything. Please don't do that again, Todd. That was horrendous.
That's disgusting, Todd. That's disgusting.
That was disgusting.
I just upped your
nipple on the show. You don't see a nipple on the screen.
No, you did. All you did was try to have some sort of joke going on.
you chased Keith off the show with that. You know, your old man.
Yeah, his wife was appalled.
That type of stuff.
His wife was appalled.
Yeah, his wife was appalled.
I would be too if he took his top off.
And Keith, I think you guys offended Keith. Keith is not even coming back on the show anymore. He's mad. He doesn't have Steven to save him. Hopefully,
I forgot. And and we'll see Steven, the independent thinker, again. I forgot. I'm sorry, Steven, but you'll be back.
Yeah,
he's off.
Hopefully, we wish him the best.
Tried a couple of times. I guess they wouldn't let him on. You wouldn't let him on, or he couldn't get on.
No, I let him on. If you look back at the show, you saw his screen was spinning. I let him on, but his screen was spinning. There's nothing I did to keep him off of the show. Keith, why are you trying to accuse me of that?
Because they can't stand you.
Well, it's very interesting. These guys love to accuse, so I figure I would try it too.
Yeah,
stop playing the victim.
My thing is, Keith, if you're upset at Aguna and Todd, take it out on them, not me.
I'm not upset.
Well, no, if you are upset, take your top off.
What you got? All I want for you, man. All I want for you is stop scapegoating the Democrats. Okay, stop scapegoating them.
Democrats are after the Republicans. That's as simple as that. They want to dominate a one-party system like they do in California.
The Republicans aren't after the Democrats.
I know.
Listen,
the Republicans don't go after the Democrats. This Hunter Biden thing is just
they
justice.
Don't. For the most part, they don't. You said it yourself.
Okay.
For the most part, Republicans don't go after Democrats.
I'm not going to.
Why do they have a whole committee to investigate the investigators on January 6th? They're not going after Democrats. They're not going after anybody.
I give up. I give up. Listen, if you people are not going to take your tops off, I'm getting out of here. Goodbye.
Man, why would you say that in Stacy's?
Fix your clock, Todd. You need to fix your clock. Your clock is always wrong in the back, and it's throwing the viewers off.
They're both coming after me.
On purpose.
You got to be decent, Todd. Stacy said, "Don't do it,
Todd."
Don't do it.
He's fully covered up.
Yeah, that was bad taste, Todd. Yeah, that
was bad taste, Todd. Bad taste. I'm gonna change his name to Bad Taste Todd. That's gonna be his name next week. Bad Taste Todd.
Cousin stripper.
Well,
okay, goodbye. I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, we are.
Take their clothes off. I'm leaving.
Oh, Stacey, it was a good show.
Watch this. See, look at that.
Bad taste time. They try to put the nipple in the screen.
Yeah. Bad taste, Todd.
Oh,
he's not bodybuilder. You could tell that.
What did he say?
Nobody wants to be bothered. All right, everyone. Good night. See you next week. Be here. Be square.
Good night.
Thank you, everybody.